January, the end of January. And if you're anything like me, you're getting ready to want to get your hands in the dirt and start some seeds. What I'm going to show you today is how I make my seed starting mix using worm castings as a major ingredient. I've been a gardener for, I'm old, a long, long time. And I've done seed starting mix every way you can possibly imagine making it. This is the way that I found for me, how I do, it works the best. Helps the seeds germinate, gives the seeds everything they need, even though seeds don't need anything. They have everything they need right from the beginning. You could pop them in sand, give them a little bit of moisture, a little bit of heat, and they're going to come up and they're going to do fine. What I want to do with this seed starting mix is promote the germination and allow them to grow afterwards healthy and strong. And then when I up pot the plants, when I transplant them into larger containers, they've already got a healthy root system and everything they need to grow the best that they possibly can. So if you continue to watch along, you're going to find out how I do, not how to do, but how I do my seed starting mix. Let's get to it. Like with most seed starting mixes, I'm beginning with peat moss. I found the Black Gold Natural and Organic Canadian Sphagnum peat moss to be my favorite. I want to point out one major thing right here. Notice how it says there, great for acid-loving plants. Okay, we're going to talk about that a little bit more. Then I want to add some perlite. Now, a lot of times in your big box home improvement stores, garden section, you're going to find the MG perlite that has fertilizers and stuff added to it. This does not. Perlite's a soil conditioner, helps with aeration, really doesn't do a whole lot more than that. But this is the one that I use. The other thing that I'm going to use, well, the star of the show, worm castings. This is what's going to add the nutrients, the microbiology to get those seeds. Let those seeds know it's actually time to grow. This right here is my compost. Now, this compost, you may not have it. This is about 2 years old. This stuff has been not just composted, but it's been aged. You can see there's eggshells in there. I have chickens, and whenever there's a broken egg, it goes in the compost bin. Those have been in there for a long time. They're going to help to add things to it. These two things I'm about to show you now, while they're not necessary, I find they work really well in my seed starting mix. This is about a full paper grocery bag full of ground up leaves. Old leaves that I grind up. What that's going to do is allow aeration to the soil. But the most important thing, it's going to allow the bacteria to have something to work on rather than, peat moss is not the best for your microbiology. This is going to add something for them to eat and allow aeration of the soil and also to help maintain your moisture levels. Here's my secret ingredient. Speaking about the peat moss and acid-loving plants, well, I want my pH to be about as neutral as it can be for starting my seeds. And this is simply wood ash from my wood stove. Now you see there's only about a quarter cup there. When we mix these all together, you're going to see how I do the mixture ratios. It's really not that big of a deal. As long as the only thing I can really recommend, I don't like adding too much perlite, and you don't want to add too much of the worm castings. It can actually be a growth hormone reducer, something like that. But this mixture right here is about what I'm going to do for one bin, and I'm going to show you how to do that now. All right, so what we've got right here is the peat moss. Now I have soaked this peat moss, rinsed it, because peat moss contains salt, not a lot, but I want to get as much of that out as possible. So as you can see, it's very fluffy. It's not wet, but it is definitely moist. Next thing we're going to add is something that personally I don't like to add a lot of perlite, but I do because it does help to keep the soil aerated. Perhaps even because of the way it is, it's kind of like biochar. The bacteria can actually get into the little nooks and crannies, the bacteria from the worm castings. But I don't like it, and it's maybe for a vain reason. I don't like the way the white pellets show up in the soil later on. So I don't use a lot. In fact, this bag right here, the last bag that I had of this one lasted me 2 years. And I have a farm. I grow a lot of stuff. But you can kind of see the proportions here. The star of the show, the worm castings. I've got about 3/4 of a can here, and we're going to mix that in. Now you don't want to use too much worm castings. Probably err on the side of using less, because the other ingredients that I'm going to add are actually going to multiply what these worm castings are going to do. Compost. Now the compost is going to really give the plants, once they've come up, they're started, it's going to give them something else to feed on. It's also going to help with the moisture levels, and again give the bacteria, the natural biota of the soil itself, something to work with. Now again, these two other components that I add, do you have to use it? No. But I do, because I find that it works really well to make a good seed starting soil that will maintain your plants. Once they come up, it'll give them the food that they need, the NPK, all the micronutrients that they need to grow well. Now you might be asking me, why are you adding the wood ash? Well, like we said about the peat moss, it's very acidic. So we want something that's going to help to knock down that acidity. I want my pH to be about neutral. The worm castings are going to help with that. The leaves are going to help with that. But the wood ash, it's kind of like adding lime. It's going to help to knock back that acidity to more of a neutral pH. And at the same time, it also adds potassium and calcium to the soil itself, which are nutrients that your plants need. So now the fun part. We're going to mix this all together. Now again, the peat moss was fairly moist. There is moisture in there, so everything's going to be able to mix together. All of the biota, the biology from the worm castings, the leaves, are going to allow all those little things to do their job. What I want them to do is to make this soil a good habitat for roots and plants. Now you see what I mean about the white stuff? I don't know. I just really not fond of it. Now, this particular batch right here is going to be, this particular batch that we're making up today is going to be for onions, which I'm going to have another video. You want to see how I plant my onions from seed? We're going to watch them grow until I actually get them in the ground. But this is also going to be a very good medium for my super hot peppers that I grow that I'll be starting in about 2 weeks. Again, it's last week of January. Yay! It's time to get seeds going and get them ready to go in the ground. It's funny, when I'm doing this, I'm almost looking for worms, but it's doubtful there's any going to be any in here. Now, I'm not going to bother you with spending all the time watching me do this. I'm going to kind of shut this down. If you like this kind of content, feel free to subscribe. Like I said, I'm going to go ahead and be having a video very shortly on how I use this for planting my onions. There was something else I was going to talk about in this video. And no, I don't take any notes. I kind of just wing it. Maybe I'll remember it when I go ahead and do the end of this when I'm talking about what I was really doing here. Folks, get out there, get your seeds started. Use your worm castings. You're going to find if you haven't done it yet, if you haven't used worm castings in your seed starting mix, trust me, it works. You can do anything. Seeds are going to come up on their own. As long as they've got the moisture, the temperature, they're going to come up on their own. But adding the worm castings, they just come up so much better, so much stronger, so much healthier. Follow this, do it. You know, like I said, you can leave out a couple of these ingredients and it's not going to matter that much. But if you've got access to worm castings, which if you're watching this video, you probably do, give it a shot. Thanks for watching, and I think I'm going to have an exit video on this, so hang tight. We'll talk to you then. Guess what? I remembered what I was going to talk about earlier. What we just mixed up there, the one last thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to let it sit for 24 hours. I'm going to moisten it down a little bit, and I'm going to let all the biota, all the biology in that bin that we just made combine. Let everything, like a good soup, let it sit on the stove for a while. We're going to let that sit there. And then tomorrow, we're going to plant onions in it. And if you want to see that, I'm going to probably put it, no, I'm going to put it in a playlist under farm on my channel. So you can watch it there. I don't know if it's going to come up in a, if you subscribe, you're going to see it. You're going to find it. It'll be there. But it's going to be under farm in my playlists. If you've been watching my videos and you've been wondering about Moby, Moby is doing great. In fact, this week we're going to expand Moby. The worms are doing super. I think it's time to add a little bit more to it. Like I said in the beginning when I put this together, we're going to move this out, move this out, move this out, move this out. It may take 2 weeks. It may take a month. But we're going to build this whole thing up, and all of Moby is going to be in my videos. So if you want to see how this worm bin works out, subscribe, give me a like. I really appreciate it. And I thank you all for watching.